Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.
Hello and welcome to Capes on the Couch, where comics get counseling. I'm Anthony Sitko.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
This is issue number 97, Black Adam, as requested by Brian, our present level patron. Thank you, Brian. And sort of a little late as far as timeliness goes, but the Rock announced that they're going to be definitely making the Black Adam movie. Announced that at Fandom a couple of weeks ago. So we had that on the calendar. We tried to get it done closer to Fandom, but scheduling and this, that, and the other. But we're here, and we're ready. We're just gonna bring it.
Oh man!
Oh, I cannot wait for you folks to hear this skit. This is Doc and I were just saying, as we were finishing up writing it. Some skits we try and teach you. Some skits we try we try to put in some real psychiatry, some real psychology in there in the hopes that you learn something from this. This is not going to be one of those skits.
Nope.
This is one of those skits. We had an idea and we threw out everything that wasn't directly related to this idea. We just built it around this conceit. So
once in a while, we just want to have fun. And I know that's where my mindset was rolling into this. So I am greatly appreciative.
And all I can say to that is, oh, hell yeah.
All right.
Somewhere, Travis from the Wrestle Specialist listening to this going, yes. Quick reminder, by the way, 2 weeks left to vote on the award show nominees, capesonthecouch.live/nominees for our 100th episode. So get your votes in, as well as your questions for the mailbag, because we've gotten some votes in, but not everybody's submitted a question. So just a friendly reminder that it's not just the votes for the award show, but we're also doing the mailbag. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. Black Adam, aka Teth-Adam, created by Otto Binder and C.C. Beck in the Marvel Family, #1, December 1945. So now, just as by way of comic history, for those of you who may be a little confused or question about Captain Marvel, Shazam, etc., Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel character, was created by Fawcett Comics back in the 40s. He was basically a Superman analog, so much so that Fawcett Comics ended up getting sued over how similar Captain Marvel and Superman were. And Fawcett Comics ended up being bought out by DC, who then licensed all of the Fawcett Comics characters and decided to bring them into the full DC universe. In the meantime, Marvel Comics created their own character called Captain Marvel and had a trademark on it. So that's why all of the Captain Marvel comics in the 70s for DC were titled Shazam, because the character could be called Captain Marvel, but the book itself had to be called Shazam or otherwise. And then I don't remember if it was in the New 52 or Rebirth or whatever. They just went ahead and they just renamed the character Shazam. Yep. So that's why the movie with Zachary Levi is called Shazam. But in any case, Black Adam only made one appearance in the original Fawcett Comics run. He was an ancient Egyptian who was given his powers by the wizard Shazam, but he became corrupted by them and was banished to a far solar system. He returned to Earth 5,000 years later and battled the Marvel family, only to be tricked into saying Shazam, much like Captain Marvel, aka Billy Batson, who could transform from Billy Batson into the Captain Marvel by saying Shazam and vice versa. Black Adam was tricked into saying Shazam and instantly aged to death because he was alive for 5,000 years and he had remained Black Adam for 5,000 years. Therefore, he never aged. But his human side, once he lost his powers, just turned to dust. So after DC bought Fawcett Comics and began using their characters, he was reintroduced to the larger DC universe as an adversary of Captain Marvel / Shazam. So DC basically gave him a similar origin story, but said, He was buried in a tomb by Shazam until he was unearthed by an archaeologist named Theo Adam, with whom his spirit bonded, very similar to the Billy Batson and Shazam. So then Black Adam in the late 90s, early 2000s, he begins to reform because he wants to clear his name and unsully his reputation. And so he joins the Justice Society of America, and he serves as kind of a darker, anti-heroic counter to most of the other members. So it was later retconned that he wasn't Egyptian. He was from the African nation of Kandak, and he became the ruler of Kandak after deposing the dictator. Atom Smasher killed the dictator.
Yeah, he and Atom Smasher actually are pretty close through most of the stories.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to read much of the JSA run. I've got bits and pieces of it in terms of research, but I'm really trying to just condense it here. But it's really good stuff, and we do recommend that you go and you find. I think it's a Keith Gillen and a couple of Jeff Johns. I think worked on it for a little bit. The JSA runs of the late 90s, or I think it's early 2000s. It's like 2002, 2003. Yeah, we do recommend that you go and find those JSA books, because that's really where the meat of the character reformation happens for Black Adam. So he becomes, I almost want to say like he's Dr. Doom, in the sense that he loves his people and he wants to do right by them, and he doesn't care who he has to fight, what he has to do. He's going to fight for Kandak and his people. Much like Dr. Doom is the harsh but quote unquote benevolent ruler over Latveria, I get a very similar vibe from reading a lot of this JSA stuff from Black Adam. So in 52/World War III, which are sort of, sequel storylines to each other, Adam's version of the Marvel family, he gets his own version of Mary Marvel and Billy, Captain Marvel Jr., and there's a talking alligator. And so his version of the Marvel family are all killed. And so Adam goes on a rampage. He kills not just, I think it's Balaya is the neighboring nation where the terrorists that killed some of his family, particularly his lover, were from.
Yep.
He not only kills the terrorists in Balaya, he kills the entire country. Yep. All 2 million people.
Yep.
Mass genocide. He wipes out the entire nation. And he goes on a rampage that requires the entire Justice Society and other heroes to band together to defeat him. And he's left powerless. So in the New 52, he's rebooted as Adam, whose nephew Aman, back many centuries and millennia ago, Aman was given powers by Shazam, much like Billy Batson. And then Adam becomes injured. So Aman shares his power with his uncle, who then says, "You don't deserve these powers. You're not doing enough with them. I can do it. And also, I'm going to rebel against those who enslaved us," because Adam and Aman were slaves. And so now that Adam has a taste of this power, he's going to turn on anybody who dared enslave him. So, and also kills his nephew because he says, "You're not doing enough with these powers." Going against your captors, totally justified. Killing your nephew because he's not enough of a hard ass as you, that's not cool. But anyway, so he's defeated by the Marvel family once again. And then in Rebirth, he is a member of the Council of Immortals, and he's still serving as ruler of Kandak. And I know Doc is much more well-versed, I think, in Black Adam and the history of the character than I.
Well, you did a great job. It's just, I know that there's plenty of other parts to this. You mentioned his version of the Marvel family. I mean, he's at one point gets married to Isis, and then Isis, unfortunately, it was important for her to die at the time, but the fact that she died sent him over the edge. And there is a separate story about his trek to resurrect her and failing, but it was because he was tricked. And just lots of other stuff that really does give more flavor to the character. But you did an excellent job. I don't have anything to knock about it, so we can get into the issues.
Yeah, I was going to say it's, we always say we're not geek history lesson. We're not going to go that in depth with the history. So Black Adam, by virtue of his character, has a couple of issues and they all sort of tie into one another. So frankly, Doc, I'm not even sure which, because I wrote them in a particular order, but I'm not sure that the order necessarily flows.
It doesn't matter.
One to the next.
I think we can handle it. Don't worry.
So, okay. So the first thing is he's unable to take any criticism whatsoever. He is incredibly thin-skinned, even if it's a critique, even if it's a positive, it's supposed to be helpful criticism. He doesn't handle it well at all. And that's a problem for any of us, much less superpowered rulers of a country or just rulers of a country in general.
Yep.
But shots fired. So, any advice you have for folks who are unable to accept any form of criticism whatsoever?
I know many people think that my first consideration for all of this is whether or not the person has a potentially narcissistic personality or something that indicates they have an inflated sense of self-worth. You don't need that. It just comes down to the idea that I'm trying to be very careful with how I word this because I think this could trigger a lot of people, but there's no such thing as perfection in your own mind. And yet our own sense of self-perfection may be what's driving us to just get out of bed. So there's a huge dichotomy here. You have to have enough self-esteem to know that you are worthy of existing in this planet. I mean, that's something that's been tested for several months now for quite a few people. If you didn't have a sense of self-worth before and there was no one around to remind you of it, then it can really be problematic. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the second that someone brings something up that you weren't even trying to pay attention to, you're going to want to listen. The issue is not necessarily whether or not he likes or dislikes what a person is saying. It's whether or not he has his ears open. He is not trying to have conversations most of the time. It's a communication failure. So it's not a matter of saying that it's an insult to him if someone is saying something negative. At least the way I've always read Black Adam, it was more like, why are you even worthy of my time? Why are you worthy of my attention? And it's a high threshold to meet. It's almost something that sometimes we see people that quote unquote are put on the spectrum. And once again, I'm not saying that in its own right to be an insult. It's just something that creates a level of emotion that's so impulsive that you often don't get to the cognition behind it. It's just this immediate wrath. I'm not exactly sure if I have the proper vocabulary, psychology or otherwise, to describe this. In other words, it may not even be directed towards him. It's anything that's considered within his realm of sensory input. I'll give a more personal example that maybe we can relate to. I've had a patient in the past who you could tell he was entering the room because he had a strong body odor. And it was part of why he was hospitalized. He wasn't really taking care of himself. But he also had a psychotic illness, and therefore he wasn't always in touch with reality. So now we're trying to bridge the gap between just making it very simple, take a shower, please, and just wanting to help him with his overall condition. So how do we approach this? And different staff members approached it different ways. And it seemed like no matter which way we approached it, it resulted in a negative response. So I try and be nuanced. Hey, I was just wondering if you could help me figure out, what we can do so that you would be able to take a shower. Maybe we didn't give you any soap or whatever. And he lashed out at me. And a different staff member was much more blunt and said, wow, man, you're really smelling bad today. and he almost went off. Unfortunately, there was a situation with a different patient that had nothing to do with that other patient and would just say, "You stink," and actually tried to throw down with him, like get into a physical altercation. So there was no subtlety. I wanted to make sure I demonstrated the full spectrum there. My point was, throughout all of that, he never actually changed his behavior whatsoever. He still didn't shower. He still didn't take care of his hygiene. He still didn't do any of it. And it had nothing to do with whether or not he thought that he was a bad person. It didn't have anything to do with anything we were saying or how we were saying it. This is one of the most primal responses a person can have. I'd much rather see a person take a beat, like just take a second to consider what someone else is saying, as opposed to just having this instant reaction, because it means that they may not want attention at all. And that is something that's incredibly difficult to get through. So I'm not even saying whether or not this person has an ego problem. I'm saying whether or not this person even recognizes what an ego is. That's how crippling that level of, not even indifference, just complete lack of personal insight, just how painful that can be.
I had never heard of that idea that they don't even know what an ego is, to be that removed from self-awareness and reality, I guess. And wow. And I suppose to some extent that's privilege on my part. I'm not saying that to be flippant. I'm saying that because I guess I never was able to understand that was a possibility.
And yet I would say it's incredibly uncommon, but when I see it, I know that it's going to be a difficult time with the patient, because aside from the combination of medication and a lot of patients, it's not something that's easily not easily broken. It's like a shield. It's like something that the person has developed as some sort of defense mechanism for whatever has happened in their life, and it's tough to break through. Now to clarify, do I think the character Black Adam exhibits this badly? No, I do think it ultimately comes back to more of the classic narcissism, because that's the way most literary characters are going to be written. But I wanted to put that spin on it because it's something that I don't think we've ever really discussed. And I think sometimes we do come from, you say privilege, I would just say we happen to be in the greater band of the bell curve, so that it's less likely we come to experience those things. But it exists. Definitely exists.
Oh, I'm sure it does. It's just one of those things that I had never contemplated before. And I suppose then it's funny, some of the things that you were describing about your patient, because that ties in then to the second issue. He is incredibly wrathful. If he feels even remotely slighted, he will stop at nothing to punish. Now, World War III was because ISIS and the rest of the Marvel, his version of the Marvel family, were killed. And so, to some extent, I understand that. But throughout the character's history, even when he's heroic, quote unquote, with the JSA, he is still always is close to snapping. And so he will take it out on you. And he can be incredibly violent when he is on the warpath, much more so than your average hero. Most heroes try to do minimal damage in the pursuit of fighting whoever it is that they're trying to fight. It's not that Black Adam is necessarily looking to kill. It's just that's not really a concern for him. He's like, I will stop you. And if you can't walk after that or whatever, it's not my problem. You shouldn't have done what you were doing to make me kick your ass. You shouldn't have made me want to kick your ass. And yeah.
Definitely see that with a lot of people. Not necessarily to that extent, but I feel like these issues so far are really right in my wheelhouse of my day-to-day job, working on an acute care psychiatric unit, right in the midst of a pandemic where it appears, in my opinion, the symptoms of what people are going through have been greatly exacerbated. We're seeing a lot of impulsive anger and physical outbursts related to that anger more than I recall. And I hope that I am an outlier in this, or my situation is an outlier in this. If that's the case, then please, any mental health professionals or anyone else listening, I don't mind being put in my place when it comes to this. I'd like to think that it's milder everywhere else, but so far, the colleagues that I've talked to, at least in my state, are saying, no, this is pretty much true everywhere. Violence is often the resource that someone uses when they have no alternative, when they perceive they have no alternative. That may not be accurate, but when it comes to our emotions, we are not necessarily utilizing every tool at our resource. We are utilizing what we think is going to be effective in the moment. And unfortunately, there's sometimes a level of disinhibition that we get that sometimes it could be fueled by other substances. Sometimes it can be fueled by significant repression over several months, years. It could be relationships. It could be just unforeseen circumstances. Or I'll just be blunt about it. It could also be a cognitive impairment that just you never develop that part of your brain. But I'm sorry, I don't mean to be that crass about it. I'm just saying that's another possibility. The response doesn't match the magnitude of the situation. And once again, I'll give direct examples because I think that's something that I haven't done nearly as often as I should. I have a patient, or had a patient, this is a while ago. The reason why they were in the hospital was because they tried to attack someone after I having trouble saying this with a straight face. They punched someone because another person, another peer in a place where they lived said, "Wow, that's not the shirt you usually wear." That's it. That's not even an insult. So that goes back to that's not criticism. That's an observation of something that is different about a circumstance in daily life. And it resulted in violence. As you said before, that does sound like a bit of a disconnect with reality. In this case, I don't think the person had a psychotic illness. I do think they lacked the skills and other coping mechanisms that could have been at their disposal to de-escalate the situation. And we found out later that there was an underlying situation where these two people actually did not get along anyway. So there's a lot of context to it. But if you take it at face value, there's no reason why a comment like that should lead to a punch. And yet, there we were. The question becomes, what's the result of that action? Because in so many parts of our society, it's not just what the person did, it's what the response was to the action. So in this case, to give more context, this person didn't like where they were staying. They wanted to get out, and they don't have any financial means to do so. But they also know that if they're not considered an ideal candidate to stay in that location, that they'll be kicked out. So although this person didn't give the information that said, "Oh, I want to leave and I will do anything I can to make that happen," we put psychologically the pieces together to say, wow, you were ready to go off at any moment just because you knew that would get you out of there. So that leads to a different approach. It wasn't just helping that person develop coping skills. It was the idea that you're getting rewarded for this behavior. And often with people that are responding to situations with violence, heaven forbid, let's say you're in a gang and you survived an encounter with someone. Doesn't matter what the slight was, like what the minor thing was that shouldn't have led to violence. The point is, it was either you or them. And now you have people that are around you that basically say, hey, you did what you could. You stuck up for us. And now they're getting positive reinforcement from it. So there can be different variations on this where it could be the environment itself that's promoting that type of reaction, whether it meant to or not. So that's one of those situations I'm not just going to put on the person, although ultimately they are responsible for their situation. That also could be a byproduct of how everyone else is handling it around them, whether they meant to exacerbate the situation or not. So that's a little.
That to me sounds, at least from that story, that to me sounds like potential for that institutionalization where it becomes what they know, similar to, I'm using the pejorative term, lifelong criminals that go back to jail because that's what they know. And they know that if I'm in jail or if I'm in prison, I have that structure. I have 3 hots and a cot, so to speak, that they have that what they don't have on the outside. And so they're almost looking for that excuse. That to me sounds like that person had that institutionalization where they were looking for it because it was familiar or because they felt secure. I'm completely speculating here.
Right. Well, that's that's part of the beauty of a show like this. But if people think I've gone off the deep end, let's go ahead and let's just bring this back to Black Adam. What's the first thing that happens to him after he comes back, after flying basically through the universe, after being sent to like the farthest reaches of the galaxy and ends up back on the planet Earth? He ends up getting killed. What happens when he tries to uphold what he thinks is the proper society with a nation and does it with an iron fist? He gets fought, attacked. What happens when he tries to create a family that way? They get destroyed by his enemies. You know, the other rival nation is heavily involved with Intergang, from what I remember, which isn't exactly an upstanding organization.
Yes, Intergang is a big part of that.
So what evidence does Black Adam have that says that society as a whole is looking to uphold what he thinks are the right things to do, when at every turn people are fighting him on it, like literally fighting him on it? And yet he has the power of the gods at his disposal to do something about it. And every time he does, it seems like he ends up in a position of power. So what else is he going to do? Just food for thought.
Interesting. So they're making their own villains, so to speak.
Maybe.
Okay. So the third part is the third issue. And again, Black Adam as a character is just, he's so rich and got such a great history. Self-righteousness. And this ties in again a little bit to the first thing, but the idea of, I know I'm doing the right thing. And to me, I always think that that's what makes a great villain is they're the hero in their own story. They're the hero in their own head. Adam is convinced he's always doing the right thing, or he's doing it for right reasons, particularly with respect to Kahndaq, because again, he sees himself as the benevolent leader, the benevolent ruler. He loves the people of Kahndaq and hates everybody else. So in his head, if he's doing it for Kahndaq, it must be the right thing to do, regardless of what it is. Yeah. That is a incredibly dangerous mindset to have.
Yeah, you think? I would say that can lead to a whole delusional construct. This is something that I've discussed with colleagues when I get the chance once in a while, or with lay people, because whenever you hear stories of people that have, I'm talking true grandiose psychotic symptoms, like just they think they're other people. For the most part, they don't go with bland stuff. For example, the number of times I've encountered people that thought that they were either Jesus or they were the Messiah or they were some important person, everything from mayor to governor to president, whatever. That's much more common. People usually don't say, oh, I'm actually the fifth extra in a random movie that was created in the 1950s that you never heard of. That's something that's...
No, but I'd like to meet somebody who does say that. That sounds fascinating because again, you get the people, I'm Jesus, I'm God, I'm this, that. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. What, really? Really? You were the stunt double for W.C. Fields? Tell me how that was.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to, as you so eloquently put it, we are the heroes in our own story. It's a natural way for us to think. But sometimes we try to project that further than our own minds, and we try and project that onto the rest of the world without the evidence to support it. So the difficulty with these circumstances for someone like Black Adam, and I know we've had variations of this topic before, is he really is in a position of power. So yes, he does have the ability to influence society at large, but even his consideration of how far-reaching that influence is above and beyond what other people around him may consider. And when you have that disconnect, you're going to have increased emotional tension because people are going to want to have that tension resolved. Meanwhile, someone like Black Adam actually seems to thrive on that tension, to actually play it up a bit. Anytime he has the opportunity to demonstrate just how correct he is, he welcomes the idea of people coming out of the woodwork to at least, I don't want to say be a foil to them. Because he literally gets to act out being a hero. It's one thing to have this in your mind. It's another thing to be able to demonstrate outward projections and have feedback from it. But as we already discussed, whose feedback? It really isn't other people. It's his own. He loves this self-dialogue. He loves this idea that he can create the self-perpetuating system in his own cognitive construct that says, I'm right. I'm going to fight you about being right. And when I win, it just proves how right I was in the first place. And because I know what people are thinking, but Doc, Black Adam doesn't always win. Sometimes he loses. In which case, it just proves how right he was because he has to fight even harder the next time. It isn't something that makes him reconsider his position. It makes him reload his armory or restock his armory. It's just one battle. It's just one exception that proves the rule. Even when there's an old saying about this. And actually, it's one said by a lot of doctors as a joke. I hope it's as a joke, you know. There was only one time when I was wrong. And it was when I thought I was wrong, but I was really right. That sums up the mentality of someone like Black Adam and to be honest, of many people in our world. And I'm glad I got Anthony to laugh about it because taken in the right context, it's meant to be funny. But it's a non-zero number that doesn't laugh at that.
They really mean that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And those are the people you have to watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, again, we could go on and on. There's quite a bit to this character, but we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll get into treatment. Stay tuned.
What is the perfect package? Well, it could be anything. Join Chad and Dave as they dive into the Perfect Package podcast. From the perfect first date to the perfect Old West gang.
I knew it was coming. I was like, where's my Hateful Eight pick from him?
Damn right. Of course it's going to be in there.
Each episode, Chad and Dave get 5 picks to create the perfect package. Then, it's up to the listeners to decide who will win each episode of the Perfect Package Podcast. So get ready to explore everything from road trips to bank heists.
All right, I felt like we're on a
dark.
Yeah, because I thought this was a normal heist. We might be breaking into like a hospital to steal a heart right now.
The Perfect Package Podcast is full of laughs, some healthy competition, and a side of interesting tidbits. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Ich bin ein
Science!
Cannabinoids, genetics, coronavirus, dogs. This is Petri Dish.
Science!
We're a science podcast exploring complex subjects with clarity and evil humor. Join the scientific revolution. Join Petri Dish, dropping every Monday on anchor.fm/Petri Dish.
Hey, this is Cullen Bunn, and you're listening to Capes on the Couch.
And we're back. So treatment for Black Adam in universe.
Yeah. So
Good luck.
Right. This is a situation where it's really obvious he doesn't want treatment. And so there is some good news. I'm a psychiatrist, and that means that I know how to deal with medications. And the good news about that is there is a particular stone, a particular crystal, depending on what story you've read, that actually has a really negative effect on Black Adam. So rather than focusing so much on the psychology of what he's dealing with, as we've already demonstrated, it's above and beyond that. You can't just talk your way through those things. I'm going to create the most powerful magical pill. And you best believe if he's not taking it in pill form, then I'm doing a medication override and he's getting injected. Because he needs to chill out just for a little bit. It's not going to cure everything, but it is going to allow for the type of rest that he would need so that his brain gets an opportunity just to reset a little bit. Because I think sleep would have to be a big part of this. And I'd make sure, after careful trial and error, hopefully not too much error, and I don't know if the DC universe allows for rapid randomized controlled trials. Maybe I gotta, get Flash and the Speed Force involved so that we can really move up this timeline. I mean, if you think the COVID vaccine timeline is rapid, we're talking really trying to compress this so that too many people don't get hurt, and getting that safe number needed to treat, getting that safe minimal effective dose.
Well, I don't know that you would need Speed Force, but you could just use time trout. You could use any number of characters that can manipulate time and just freeze everything else. You advance the trial. You can go as quickly or as slowly as you need to, and then just go back to the point where you need the vaccine or the medication.
Yeah. And that's basically what I would do. I would make sure that, we approach it that way. And after that, we start having the general conversations, hey, Black Adam, are you killing people today? How's that going? Just the basics, not trying to, get too psychodynamic here, unless he really wants to talk about all that stuff. If he wants to talk about his family, if he wants to talk about his background and all of that, he might want to. He likes sometimes to do the villain dissertation, but if he doesn't want to do that, that's fine, man, because I'll just load up that next dose of medication the next day, preferably make it a daily dose. And take it from there.
All right. I don't know how you get the injection into his skin or whatever, but good luck. Good luck with that.
Oh, believe me. I think we have the perfect way to get it into his skin, because there are plenty of heroes that have demonstrated that they have the force. They have the power to be able to do that. I never said I would personally give the injection.
True. You did not.
Oh, I know what I'd be doing with that. I don't care if we're talking Superman. I don't care if we're talking about Shazam. I don't care. We'll get this done.
Okay. I don't doubt it. In universe, anything can happen. So out of universe, then, gulp. Trying to think of a real world analog to Black Adam, a thin-skinned leader of a country who can't take criticism.
Oh my God, we are going to get shut down quicker than TikTok.
What are you going to shut down? Who's going to shut us down? Somebody has control over us.
Stop. Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying. If the shoe fits.
Oh. All right. So I would like to say that the first thing is creating a safe environment for the person, making sure that they realize that they're not being threatened by me or anyone else around them. Having said that, if the person has a history of violence or a history of significant aggression and impulsivity, then that's a different story. That is a situation where what we call that on the inpatient unit is a show of force, and it sounds horrible, but believe it or not, it's the opposite of what you think. The idea is you get enough people around to let the person know that there are multiple people that are really concerned for your safety and the safety of others. And we want to find a way to resolve this in a peaceful manner where there is no need for a physical intervention. Help us do that. It puts the ball back in their court. Because if they act out, then it's clear that we had to respond appropriately. We do not lay hands on people if we don't have to. That's the truth. Because a lot of people also have the stigma, the idea that all we want to do in a hospital or in the emergency room or anything, all we ever want to do is we want to get in fights with people and we just want to shoot them up with medications and things like that. No, that's not the case. We only do what we consider to be clinically necessary. So I'm going to take this opportunity rather than going through the psychodynamics of a sociopath, because I think we've approached that in multiple episodes. I want to approach the idea that we need to have a better alliance. We need to have patients recognize that we're on their side, even when it feels like society is against them. Because that's one of the biggest reasons why people act out. They think that they are backed into a corner with no other way to respond. And it doesn't matter if it's true or if it's delusional. It's their reality at that point. We have to meet them where they are. And yes, that may include medication. Yes, that may include injections in the moment. But it doesn't have to continue to be that way. So I'm talking about crisis intervention in a way that sometimes police are involved. And believe it or not, many times the best people that are resolving these situations so that no one gets hurt are the police. I know that sounds counterthetical to what people have talked about most recently. And I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to make this a political statement. I'm saying that multiple people in multiple areas of crisis intervention are doing their best to resolve things in a way that people don't always recognize in the moment. And all they see are the actual physical results of what the intervention was. And I don't think that's always fair. So I'm introducing this once again as something that I don't think we've ever talked about in this way. Because after you approach near 100 episodes, it's nice to have a little different take on the same topics. So out of universe, the first thing is the actual crisis resolution. And then after that, getting into what led to this person having such aggressive defense mechanism. Once we get the aggression part settled, then it gets to the basis of what leads to the potential personality traits that led to this, or the more basic family dynamics, or the abuse and trauma, or whatever it was, or the comorbid substances, all of it. We want to resolve the immediate part first and then dive in piece by piece. And that part takes a long time. So you have something that may last less than a day that gets resolved. And I'll admit, as someone that works in that environment, sometimes we look at it as, okay, the situation's done. This person's good to go. Meanwhile, family members and everyone else is saying, are you crazy? You can't let this person be back in society. And we make these decisions. And people don't understand. Our point is, well, as long as this person continues treatment outside of the acute area, then they can continue to progress. But what ends up happening sometimes if we don't address it properly is that it becomes a revolving door. We stabilize the temporary crisis. We see the person's behaviors resolve in that moment or for those last few days. And then the person doesn't follow up with anything, or everyone else has a different expectation. And therefore they say, well, wait a minute, this is still the same person we were dealing with. You guys didn't do anything. This was useless. And then they end up unintentionally antagonizing that person. And that person exhibits the same behaviors again. And they come back and see us. And we get frustrated because we think, oh, wow, it's their fault. They didn't do anything the way they were supposed to. And now we're blaming them. And then the person says, well, wait a minute, why is this my fault? This is all your fault. And it just starts to feed on itself in a negative way. So it is going to be a cycle. It is going to be a process that continues. The question is it going to be a cycle for the better with fewer crisis evaluations and hospitalizations? Or is it going to be a crisis for the worse where we see someone come in almost every week or every month and it seems like everyone just gets frustrated all around? So that's where I wanted to take that, because I'd rather do that than talk about anybody in higher ups that I think could just, totally shut us down because they don't like how we're talking about them. I'm kidding. I'm grateful that we have this platform, and I know that that's not happening because, well, to be quite frankly, I'm not sure that person would even have the cojones to do it once they realize I'm black.
Oh!
Yeah, see, that's the thing. People sometimes think that don't mistake my kindness for weakness. Just because I do my best to make sure that we don't go on major tangents doesn't mean I don't know the subtext of what we're dealing with, and I wouldn't be willing to go there. All right.
Well, I mean, I really wasn't trying to make it subtext. I was making it pretty friggin' obvious that it was text. So we said at the top of the show that some skits and some episodes are about teaching you things, and some are us having fun. This is definitely the latter. And so all I will say going into this is that if you know anything about the future of the character from a cinematic standpoint, and or you happen to be a teenager between 1997 and 2001, this skit is for you. If not, there are plenty of YouTube clips, I'm sure, that will explain some of the references you're about to hear. But let's see what happens when we get Black Adam on Dr. Issues' couch.
Hello, Adam. I'm Dr.
Finally, Black Adam has come to therapy.
I'm sorry, was this a long time?
And just who in the blue hell are you?
I'm Dr.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
I'm sorry?
Damn right you're sorry. You should be grateful to bask in the greatness that is the mighty Adam.
This is getting off to quite a start.
Listen here, Adam doesn't have to take any crap from you, your secretary answering phones, the jabroni on the corner hawking newspapers.
What do they have to do with anything?
Know your role and shut your damn mouth while I'm talking. You dare interrupt me?
Seems I have to interrupt you just to get a word in edgewise.
Adam isn't here to listen to some gobbledygook about how he needs to be a better person, how he's so violent, how he's a danger to the world. That's a load of grade A monkey crap. Adam is the most electrifying man in all this universe.
Then why are you here? If you're so amazing, what are you even doing wasting your time with me?
Some people say you can make them a better hero. Adam's already pretty damn amazing, but I wanted to see what you brought to the table.
Well, if you give me an opportunity to speak, I could tell you.
All right, Adam's giving you 30 seconds, and Adam means 30 seconds to explain what you can do before he drops the magical smackdown on your candy ass.
Now listen here, Adam. I'm not going to let some overhyped deity wannabe spout catchphrases all day. You want to be stronger? You want to be smarter? You want millions and millions of people worshiping the ground you walk on? Then make the type of connection that only Adam can, with a psychiatrist that's done it all in this business.
Are you done?
Pretty much, yeah. I don't do promos much.
Well, I must say you have a high amount of energy, and if there's anything Adam knows, it's to just bring it.
So are you saying...
Adam is not done. You don't know what Adam can do to you. Adam can take your notepad and your little pen, shine it up real nice, turn that sumbitch sideways, and stick it straight up your candy ass.
Well, my memory is pretty good, so I don't need...
You need Adam to let you know that he is not just the ruler of a nation of domination. No. He is the people's champ.
People's champ? You probably killed more people than those you've ruled.
Adam's problem is that he's too damn electrifying. If he hits you with a punch, you die. If he misses, the wind blows your lungs out and you die.
Do you want to channel that lightning that changed the world? Do you want people to truly know how great you are?
Going 1-on-1 with the great one, this is more than anyone can handle. Adam guarantees no one can best me when I talk. No one can beat me when I lay the smack down. I can feel it.
Feel what?
If you smell what Shazam... Oh, no.
Are you okay, Adam?
You weren't supposed to see this side. I just need to...
No. It's okay. You're still electrifying. You're still the people's champ. You're just a little toned down this way is all.
Adam, thanks you for that. I'm just going to head back to my hotel now.
Oh, where are you staying?
Oh, it's at the corner of Know Your Role Boulevard and Jabroni Drive.
Oh, that's a nice hotel. How's the food?
Well, the dinner isn't bad, but the pie is amazing.
Maybe you could bring some to the next session.
Oh, I will definitely bring it.
Well, I guess that's the bottom line because Doc Issue said so.
Well, I think that rocked.
Yeah. And if it didn't, then I think people will let us know if we've hit rock bottom.
Oh, I think they'll let us know. I think we will hear from the millions and millions of people that don't listen to the show. I wish we did have millions and millions of listeners.
Oh, yeah.
If we start talking about MMA and goat tranquilizers or whatever the hell,
oh boy,
drugs.
I don't know. Dear. Oh.
I don't want to be a Spotify exclusive. There's a lot of inside baseball talk on this show for whatever reason.
Although, if you don't know who we're talking about with that stuff, I mean, really, you're listening to podcasts. Come on.
Yeah. Just go back and watch news radio.
Wow.
So, recommended reading for this week's episode for this character is the JSA Black Rain storyline. I think that is just a good encompassing, again, just a good storyline, the way, and a good story arc for Adam, and to really give you a good idea of who he is as a person and as a character. And so the next thing we're going to do is just read a quick review from Super Nerdy. It's a 5-star review left on Apple Podcasts. Wonderful. This great, unique show is a must listen. Hit subscribe now. Thank you, Super Nerdy. We appreciate that. And if you would like to leave us a review, you can do that on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or Stitcher. And if you email us at capesonthecouch@gmail.com with a screen cap of your review and your address, we will send you a sticker as a way of saying thank you so much for taking the time to leave us a positive, kind word. Upcoming episodes, Hank McCoy, and then Ego, the Living Planet, and then our 100th episode. So again, reminder, go to capesonthecouch.live/nominees and vote for our award show. We're still doing that for 2 more weeks. So get those votes in where you can. And as always, you can find all of our episodes on our website, capesonthecouch.live. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Capes on the Couch. And you can email us at the aforementioned capesonthecouch@gmail.com. We've got a Patreon. If you join the Patreon, you can unlock so much additional cool exclusive content. And bloopers will be coming out shortly for our patrons. And if we just get a few more patrons and a few more dollars, we'll be doing monthly movie commentaries like riff tracks. So go to patreon.com/capesonthecouch and search for us there, because unfortunately, since we are considered to have adult content on Patreon, you can't just do a search for us. So you have to go to the link directly. Patreon.com/capesonthecouch, links in the show notes. And we have a TeePublic site as well, tpublic.com/user/capesonthecouch. So you can get some cool swag. Special shout out to Chad from the Perfect Package podcast, who just did some recording while wearing our Why Because Comics shirt, as designed by the awesome Emily daughter of Kate from Ignorance Was Bliss. So that's going to wrap it up for this one. Shout out again to Ruby watching us on YouTube, who actually had the time to join us this week. And join us in our Discord, Facebook groups so that you can partake with other fans. We've got some cool memes going up and just fun chat and banter. So with that being said, Doc?
You know, I at first thought that this was going to be a pretty dark episode, you know, with the name Black Adam and everything, but this turned out to be pretty colorful. So I'll give you some credit.
And there you have it. For Doc Issues, I'm Anthony Sitko. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Capes on the Couch podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Dr. Issues is a psychiatrist, but he is not your psychiatrist and does not have knowledge of your individual situation. For any personal mental health concerns, please consult your own healthcare providers. For medical emergencies, please call 911 or the designated number in your area immediately. Remember that you are not alone and help is out there.